GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Friday, the 29th of November. We're nearly at the end of the month. One more day to go. So let's get it and let's jump straight into the charts. And we can see from our analysis yesterday that Bitcoin has held this 95,000 level, just shy of 95,000 that we were talking about on yesterday's stream. I said, if Bitcoin breaks below this level, potentially expect us to come down as low as 87,000, or what would be more likely is probably just a sweep of this low and then front running any lower levels before starting to bounce. What we've actually seen is Bitcoin hold that, and now what I said would be likely if this was held would be that we come back up closer to the top of this range towards 99,000, and then potentially we see a final pullback in early December. I'll get into a little bit more detail shortly as to why I think that a early December pullback might take place, but we could see a pullback going into early December, and then from there it might be that we go for the $100,000 breakout sometime early next month. I think that is something that is fairly likely. And I'm just actually going to put a path on this chart because obviously we've drawn a path on the other chart. We'll review that in a second. But I think it's worth to sort of have two paths here, obviously a more bullish path and a more bearish path. So I think, look, on the more bullish side, you're probably going to see a move like this into the end of November, finishing November strongly, December having a pullback, maybe into the second, maybe into the third, but I think that pullback will be fairly shallow, still making a high. So we've got higher highs, higher lows going back into the uptrend, and then potentially a breakout. Maybe it consolidates a little bit further here, but I think a breakout comes maybe as soon as next week. And yeah, I mean, that's really what I expect to happen for Bitcoin. So it would be something like that as more of a bullish path. Obviously, going back to our other chart now, and we can see this was our original path that I said, you know, for this to happen, this bounce really needs to sort of fail yesterday and for us to close back above 95,000. And then we might have gone as long as 87,000. Obviously, I've never been of the camp that we'd actually go to any of these deeper targets. I've heard people calling for 80,000, gap fills down to, you know, 72,000, 77,000. I just think that there's, I just don't see the catalyst for that right now. I mean, you know, the landscape is changing in real time with this Trump administration, with so many pro-crypto people now coming into government positions, coming into the Senate, coming into the House. SEC chairman is going to change. Obviously, Gensler's now told us he's resigning. I just think it's mega, mega bullish for crypto here. And you think to yourself, with this sort of narrative, with all of these developments, with this landscape shift that we're currently seeing, I mean, surely this is it. Surely this is the time for Bitcoin to break out. And like I say, I said this yesterday, I have sort of two, you know, big predictions here. The first one is we're not going to go lower than 87,000. The second one is we're going to see prices above $100,000 in December. So I'm standing by those predictions. Of course, things are looking fairly strong right now. We're back above 96,000. We're obviously working our way back up towards the high of this range, which is what I'm expecting. On the daily, we've now taken out yesterday's high. So like I said, if we can take out the week's high, then I think we will be heading back towards 99,000 fairly quickly. And like I say, this path is probably invalidated. Of course, we probably do come down early December, but as you can see on the path I've just drawn on my other chart here, the slightly more bullish path, I do think this is currently more likely. We've probably come up back towards 99,000. We have a little dip early December, and then we're sort of off to the races by mid-December above $100,000. And if I just share something else to support that. So I'm a pretty big fan of Eric Crown. I think the guy really knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to trading. And as you can see, he's sort of shared this analysis on his X. So if you're not following him, definitely give him a follow. But he's at Crown Crypto Cave. But like I say, he's noticed that something strange about Bitcoin lows in the month of December during halving/election years. Again, so we've seen some really good analysis of Crown already when it comes to sort of October lows, November lows as well. When it comes to December lows, we can see they're usually coming in early on in the month within the first week. Obviously, 2020 was on the 9th, but you can see the last, 2012 was the second, so 2020 the 9th, 2016 was the 5th, 2012 was the second. Obviously, this has been when Bitcoin's been in a weekly uptrend, and obviously we're definitely in a weekly uptrend now. It's definitely a halving year, so I would expect for the low from December to come in probably fairly early on in the month. It's quite interesting. He's put the actual day here as well. So this was a Sunday, this was a Monday, this was a Wednesday. So, potentially, do we see a low coming in early next week for the month of December? I think it's fairly likely. And I think to myself, look, if we do see Bitcoin come off early next week, that has to be an excellent buying opportunity. That has to be an area that you're looking at this market and saying, look, it's time to get positioned. So yeah, I think any dips are for buying, really. Any dips below, 100,000. So if we get a dip, like I say, back down towards this midpoint around 95,000, I will be leaning in more heavily to positions, especially if that happens next week, in expectation that this move is going to carry on upwards. And if we also just look at the weekly liquidation levels, then we can see that on the weekly, these liquidations are still stacked up around this 100,000 area. So I know there was a question on the video yesterday, have these liquidations been pulled? Have they moved down? I mean, some of them might have moved down to just above this sort of weekly swing high currently. So potentially, yeah, some of them have moved, but the majority are still stacked up around that $100,000 area. And obviously, this is just going to be rocket fuel, right? I mean, when people are in short positions, when those short positions get liquidated, this is forced buying. They are then forced to buy the market. So, I mean, a push up, like I say, above the week's current high around this, sort of 79, sort of 300, 79, 400 should then give us the momentum to get back up to around sort of like the 99,000 area. And then above 99,000, I think we probably rip straight through 100,000. And like I say, I think we push on higher. Whether that happens sooner or later, I think, like I say, I expect this move to happen probably by the middle of December. I really think in December we will break above $100,000 on Bitcoin. So that is the update on Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at Ethereum to see what Ethereum's doing. And Ethereum, of course, we had the breakout a couple of days ago. We've now seen yesterday some consolidation, and yeah, I mean we're pretty much currently holding this as a breakout above this sort of 3,000 sort of 550 area. So we could probably come as low as 3,450 and still be bullish on Ethereum. I do think Ethereum makes its way up to this sort of 3,850 level over the next couple of weeks, and likely when Bitcoin breaks out above 100K, I'd expect Ethereum to break out of this descending trend line. And I'm still thinking that Ethereum is a good catch-up trade. Obviously, on yesterday's video, we talked about Ethereum and obviously the fact that Ethereum tends to perform better in quarter one, whereas Bitcoin tends to perform better in quarter four. So we're currently in quarter four. We're seeing Bitcoin outperform. I think that performance will shift to Ethereum over the next quarter and probably well into next year, into summer next year. I think Ethereum will start to outperform Solana as well. So Solana still consolidating Obviously, it had a bit more of a deeper pullback than the other majors, but it hit that 618 that we talked about. I talked about positioning into Solana myself with some more spot positions, and currently, I think, provided Bitcoin trades back up to its all-time highs around 99,000, Solana should do the same thing, should make its way up to 260, and of course from there it will be a Solana breakout. So happy to hold those Solana spot positions for now. Pepe doing its thing, so it's currently finding support on this daily 20 moving average. It had obviously sort of come back to this box that I said was a place of interest, with it being the prior all-time high. Also, it was the pretty much a 50% retrace from this low up until the high. So it was basically 50% retrace of that move. And also we were getting support from this 20-day moving average, which obviously price is still finding support at. So Pepe's looking good here. Again, I mean, if you're in positions, you probably just want to hold them. That's what I'm doing. We'll take a very quick look at the dollar as well, because the dollar is having a go at breaking down. So it's now below this level that I identified at 106.1. That was this swing high here. So acceptance below this 106 level would be good. I think the next level you're looking for the dollar to find acceptance under is this trend line. So obviously the dollar broke through this trend line, and now it's just retested it. So potentially the dollar sees a bit of a bounce here before having another go at this trend line. But like I say, if we start to consolidate below 106 and just above this trend line, I think that will probably add some sort of strength to the argument that this will break down soon. And we'd expect to break down in the dollar to obviously be good for risk assets, including crypto. So who knows, potentially this breakdown could happen in a couple of weeks' time, and that might coincide with Bitcoin sort of pushing above the 100K target in December, which I've spoken about. And just looking at the NASDAQ and the stocks, obviously NASDAQ still looks like it wants to grind higher. The S&P, a little bit of a pullback yesterday, but it's still just consolidating under those all-time highs. And I expect stock markets to hit new all-time highs as well by the end of this year. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Obviously, thank you very much for watching. Just to recap, Bitcoin is looking strong. Like I say, same as yesterday, really. As long as we hold above this support here at around about just under 95,000, I expect Bitcoin likely to sort of grind back towards its all-time highs. Probably some consolidation, potential for a bit of a dip early next week going into December. And, we spoke about things like the bear moon being a factor. We spoke about the fact that we've just come off this Tom DeMark weekly 9 as well. So tomorrow I'll come up with a little bit more of a longer term update, looking at more the weekly and see where we close for today. Like I say, I'm not expecting 100K today. I mean, it could happen, but I still think there'll be a little bit of resistance here. Obviously, a lot of short liquidations just above this high. I expect bears will want to fight to try and defend those, but I still think 100K is inevitable, and we should get that breakout over the next couple of weeks. There's nothing right now that I'm looking at to make me feel any different about that. So thanks very much for watching. I'll be back with some more, probably some different content later. I'd like to do a review of Bitcoin and ask how high can Bitcoin go this cycle. So that's a video I'm going to look to put out over this weekend, as well as doing some updates on some of the altcoin positions and meme coin positions that we're in. So if that content sounds interesting to you, definitely subscribe so you don't miss out. If you've enjoyed today's stream, please do hit a like. Really helps to me to grow the channel. And have a wonderful day. I'll speak to you all again soon. GM.